Hello and welcome to the question paper analysis video of Capital Market and Securities Laws question paper of June 2025 attempt. You have just attempted this question paper just few hours back, and here we are bringing you the analysis of this question paper. Let's see the overview and then we will have a look at the question paper as well. If you see the paper is easy if you have prepared well. If you have studied 100% of the syllabus, this is one of the easiest papers that the institute has asked in the previous past. Lengthy, yes, as expected. Any law subject, the paper is generally lengthy, but if you have properly followed the time management techniques and tips, it is easily achievable to complete for full 100 marks in the given duration of 3 hours. The paper is having majority of direct questions. That means even if they have tried to incorporate a case study type of question, ultimately the question that they are asking the students is direct, and this direct question is also 100% from within the syllabus itself. So nothing has been asked from outside the syllabus. Case study based questions are also direct and easy, like I've already mentioned, and more concept based questions are asked. That means they're not asking a lot of provisions of law. They're just testing the knowledge of the students more and above the provision of law itself. So overall, it's a very good question paper. They have tried to balance the questions in the terms of mix of practical oriented questions and direct theory oriented questions. Though the tilt is more towards direct questions, they have tried to include even practical oriented and practical applicability of provisions of law. If we see the syllabus coverage, like I always say, the institute makes sure that they are covering questions from every chapter. That is why we say that don't leave any chapter unattended. If you want to attempt for 100 marks, you should know the entire syllabus. Even in this attempt, the institute has followed the same principle. They have asked the questions from almost all of the chapters. In part A, everything is covered, but in part B, only 2 chapters are left out. So if you see basics of capital market, 10 marks. I always say that this is one of the most important and high weighted chapters. Secondary market, 5 marks. Securities Contract Regulation Act, 5 marks. Securities Exchange Board of India, 10 marks. Depositories, 10 marks. Security market intermediaries, 10 marks. And international financial service centers, 10 marks. So this is the weightage each one of these chapters is carrying in this particular exam. Looking at part B of the syllabus, from buyback and from collective investment scheme, this time no question has been asked, 0 weightage, but other chapters, they have included questions. ICDR is a surprise because they have asked question only for 3 marks, not high weightage is given to this particular chapter. Share-based employee benefit, 5 marks. Issue and listing of non-convertible securities, 8 marks. High weightage, like I always say, LODR regulations carries 15 marks. SCST regulations carries 8 marks. Insider trading, 5 marks. Fraudulent and unfair trade practices, 5 marks. Delisting of equity shares is carrying 13 marks. Like I had told, there was major amendment that was brought about to delisting regulations, and it will definitely carry high weightage. That has come true. They have asked for 13 marks from this particular regulation. And on mutual funds, again, like I say, it is a very important chapter. They ask theory as well as practical problem from a mutual fund. It is carrying 13 marks. So overall, I had given a list of important chapters. The question paper fits into the list that was provided by me. So now let's look into directly the question paper that has been given this time. If you see, like always in the new syllabus pattern, the question paper, the first question is a lengthy case study question. It's almost 3 pages this time. And then they have asked you 5 questions which carry 2 marks each, and each one of these questions is based on the concept of private equity. So one concept of private equity, one concept is carrying full 10 marks. Right? So you read the question first before reading the case study type of question and analyze whether you can answer these questions directly, or is there actually a necessity to spend a lot of time reading the 3-pager document. So whenever you get a question paper, what you should do, don't read the entire case study. First go and see the questions. Are they direct or are they related to the case study? If they are direct, good enough. You just give an overview, read through the question. But if it is directly related and without reading the case study you cannot answer, only then spend a lot of time in understanding what is the case. So here most of the questions are direct. Even without reading the case study you can answer the questions. They've asked what is private equity? Direct. What are the characteristics of private equity? Direct. What are the different types of private equity investment? Direct. Who are investors who are participating in the private equity firms? What are the alternative sources of arranging funds other than private equity? Sources of raising funds other than that of private equity, again direct. So this is a very easy question that has been asked. Again, second question is a case study type of question which is carrying 10 marks. This time also please read the answers, the questions first, sub questions, and then see if there is a requirement of reading the case study. Again, most of them are direct, and entire second question is based on SEBI provisions. They are asking what are the powers of SEBI while issuing directions. What are the grounds on which SEBI can conduct investigation? What are the powers that the investigating authorities have when they are investing the cases? What are the factors that should be taken into consideration by the adjudicating officers while they are imposing the quantum of penalty? And lastly, when they are seizing the records, they have to return it back. So what is the procedure and provisions for returning back the seized documents, the timeline, all that you have to specify. Again, these are very simple and direct questions that have been asked in relation to SEBI provisions. And if you see, the questions are also chapter wise arranged. First one was from chapter 1, basics of capital market. Second one is from SEBI chapter, Securities Exchange Board of India Act. Now, this is from secondary market, where they have asked the impact of RBI's monetary policy in the stock market. How is that related? How RBI's policy will impact the stock market? It is a question from the secondary market. Next question also is a direct question. What are the powers of the central government as provided under the Securities Contract Regulation Act? Next question is in relation to Depositories Act. Again, very simple. They have asked you two concepts: who is a beneficial owner and what are the rights that the beneficial owner has. We know under the concept of depository system, in the name of the register of members, the name of depository is registered as the member of the company, but in actually they are holding the shares on behalf of the actual shareholders who are the beneficial owners. That and what are the rights and entitlements that the beneficial owners have, that is everything that a shareholder has will be the right of the beneficial owner. Again, very simple and direct question. Here they are not checking the provisions of law as such, they are checking your conceptual clarity. Next question is on the basis of the chapter on intermediaries. They have asked you who can be appointed as a banker to an issue and what are the activities that they are permitted to do. Okay, direct question. Who can be appointed and what are the activities? Coming to question 2A, which is an alternative question to question 2. They are telling you or being appointed from the point of view, what is the role of a company secretary under the depositories and depository participants provisions. So again, it is a direct question asked from within the syllabus. Next, capital market intermediaries are a vital link between the investors, issuers and regulators. They have made a statement and they have asked you to elaborate on the concept of this statement along with stating the objectives of intermediaries. Again, concept based question. They want to check your understanding about the entire market. In this question paper, more than testing your provisions of law, they have just tested the concepts. Next, after establishing gift city as in India's maiden IFSC, how does it boost the Indian economy? That is nothing but how does International Financial Service Center help the economic development of the country? From that point of view, you are required to write a short statement. You have been appointed as a company secretary of a company which is a special purpose vehicle. The company is in the process of making listing through an IPO on the stock exchange that is listed in the International Financial Service Center. You are required to advise the company about whether it is eligible for making an IPO or not. If yes, reason. If no, reason. So this is about listing of a company on a stock exchange listed situated in the International Financial Service Center. So it belongs to the IFSC chapter. You have to tell them whether it is eligible or not eligible by reading the facts. What should be the offer size and what is the minimum promoter or the sponsor holding that is required, and what is the minimum application size of the initial public offer, and what is the acquisition limit. Because it is a special purpose acquisition company. So within what time acquisition etc. is required to be completed for the purpose, that you have to specify. This is a little complex question where they have asked you the provisions of law. Apart from that, apart from this question, all the previous questions were direct theory and concept oriented rather than provision oriented. Coming to part B of the syllabus, here they are asking you first question on the basis of the share based and employee benefit regulations, where they are asked you two general most easy forms of the scheme, that is general employee benefit scheme and retirement benefit scheme. On these two concepts, they are required you to provide the provisions of law under these regulations. Briefly explain about these two schemes. Next question. You might feel by reading it that it is a numerical question and panic, but it is not. It is a direct theory question where they are asking you what are the obligations of a company which is going to issue a non-convertible debenture as per the provisions of SEBI issue and listing of non-convertible securities regulations. Under those regulations, what are the obligations of a listed entity which is issuing a non-convertible debenture? That is what the question is about. It is nothing to do with math. Next. Elegance Limited is the subsidiary of a Prosperity Limited, etc. Here they have asked you to give about under LODR regulations, what are the corporate governance provisions that are applicable to the subsidiary companies? One-time compliance requirement, is it? No. That is the next question. So this is just about corporate governance provisions as applicable to the subsidiary companies under LODR regulations. You have to specify. Next is one-time compliance relating to specified securities, which is listed on National Stock Exchange. So one-time compliance as per LODR regulations itself they have asked. Next, it's a history based question. After a very long time, the institute has made an attempt to include a historical or history based question in the question paper. They have asked you what are the recommendations given by the C. Achyutan committee with respect to the SAST regulations enactment. What were the recommendations they suggested due to which the SAST regulations of 2011 were brought into existence. So history based question. Next, they have asked you to give a note, write a note on the principles of fair disclosure under the Code of Fair Disclosures as provided under the PIT regulations. Again, a very direct question. Elaborate the provisions of certain dealings in securities under SEBI prohibitions and fraudulent of unfair trade practices regulations. Again, a direct question where they are asking a provisional question, that is, this is the enabling provision. The entire basis of these regulations is what are the activities that are prohibited. So that is what they are asking, what are the prohibitions as per these regulations. Next one is on delisting regulations. The company wants to go for voluntary delisting. It wants to come out with an exit offer. You are appointed as a SEBI merchant banker, and what are the obligations of the manager to an exit offer as per the voluntary delisting regulations for before making the detailed public announcement. So as a manager to the exit offer, as being a merchant banker and being appointed to execute that voluntary delisting procedure, what are your obligations as a merchant banker and as an exit manager of an exit offer before publishing of the detailed public announcement? What is your responsibility? What are the things that you have to do as a merchant banker or as the manager of that issue? What you should do? That is what is being asked. Direct question. Next, Zebra invested a mutual fund scheme. They have given the facts. It is a practical oriented question where you have to answer what is the holding period return and what are the returns that are earned by making an investment in this mutual fund scheme. It is a simple question similar to the question that has been asked in the previous year question paper. So it is not a new numerical problem. If you have practiced the previous question papers, it is very similar to that. So you should be easily able to solve this particular practical problem. Next. Question 6 is write a short note on the following. Entities not eligible for rights issue from ICDR regulations. Filing of information documents while issuing and listing of non-convertible securities on private placement basis. So what are the documents and information that has to be done? Advertisement exemptions under regulation 11 of SAST regulations. Again, very simple and important question. While teaching also, we have told the significance of regulation 11. It is rightly asked. Then you have advertisement code for mutual funds and fixed delisting price. Okay, this is the new concept from the amendment material. That is why they have asked the same. So most of the questions that are asked under short notes are very easy and simple to answer. Coming to the alternate question 6A, they are saying that you are an entity which comes under top 1000 listed companies. What are the regulatory compliance requirements for these companies which are top 1000 listed entities? What are the regulatory compliance requirement as per LODR regulations? You have to list out what is the compliance requirement. So if you have studied LODR regulations, easily you can answer. Next question is a theory question from a mutual fund and a repeated question. Quite often this question is asked by the institute about what is the expense ratio. Here they have given that the expense ratio is the funds or the cost that is incurred by the fund for managing the entire fund. They have given that statement and they have asked you the question of what constitutes this expense. What are the expenses that are included in the expense ratio? And ultimately, second question they have asked us, how does this expense ratio impact the NAV? Higher the expense ratio, lower the NAV, lower the expense ratio, slightly higher the NAV. That correlation they are asking. Next, Sun Limited is a leader in the domestic paper market industry. It is a top Nifty 50 company. They are planning for delisting of the organization, and we know that now due diligence by a peer review committee is required. So they are asking you to explain the provisions with respect to what is the due diligence procedure which is required to be carried out by a peer review company secretary. So this is the concept that has been asked from the delisting regulations. So with this we come to the end of the question paper. The question paper is very easy in comparison to the previous question papers as well. Here they have not asked a lot of provision based questions. They have asked more of concept oriented questions to test how much you understand the market and how much you understand this particular subject. Overall, if you would have studied well, it is an easy question paper. Even if your preparation is slightly not up to the mark, even then it is a doable paper where you can easily pass. Whatever has happened in today's paper, don't bother about it. If it went well, very good, give more focus and study well for the next paper. Even if the paper has not gone well, you are not happy about what you have done or how you have attempted this paper, it's absolutely fine. You forget what has happened in today's examination center, focus. You have one more day for writing ECIPL. Give your 100%, prepare well, forget what has happened today and do the best for the next exam. All the best and study well.